was a black eye.
And it was so lawyerly with the letter.
St. Louis is, St. Louis is just as bad as Boston. It's just hidden better. And that's true of 174 out of 175 places out there. It's just a question of whether the story is relevant.
He knew that something.
Which isn't to be depressing, but it's just here's what you're up against. You have to take personal responsibility, personal accountability for this kind of stuff, and you have to drive change. And I don't want people to leave. I want people to stay and fight.
It's all like the lack of clear communication.
I just wish there was a roadmap. I wish there was some other organization.
Well, I'll tell you,
that did change from within. Something to take an example.
Well, if you can start putting pressure, at least on the Catholic press, because they won't. I know. And I've got, especially the affiliated Catholic press is worse. But I've got reporters who want to write the stories, and they're like, we keep pitching this stuff. We pitch your story out the wazoo, and nobody will approve it.
Yeah, I just
everything's getting spiked.
I find very upsetting that there's nothing addressed now.
Which is depressing, but So I'm just going to go. I'm doing end around and speak to y'all. And if y'all can talk to your friends, then
they're getting bigger. The remnant and church militants, so that's getting bigger, which is a good thing.
Yeah, and I'm not, I'm not thrilled with church militant, but I got hundreds of listens to my podcast as a result of the church militant stuff. They ran another article on me connecting me and Dolan and naming Dolan. They didn't do it completely elegantly. They ran that piece without warning me. I did the interview like 2 years prior, and then all of a sudden I started getting these hit on my Dolan stuff, and I'm like, what just happened? And it turns out there's a church militant piece discussing my relationship and my allegations against Dolan. They had just kind of dropped.
Did he remember you when you were
Yeah, no, he was my best friend.
But he remembered you as a kid?
Well,
kind of.
He said he did.
Yeah. When he looked the other way.
Hey Chris, Tim Dolan, Bishop Dolan. Been a long time. And that's that's for the whole wild goose chase thing. You need to understand what was going through my mind. Bishop Dolan told me nothing happened. Bishop Dolan told me
When you
nothing
said that to us, I thought you were being serious.
You genuinely.
That was the rap that was in my head. That was the cognitive behavioral therapy thought that was in my head. And that went for 10 years. That was the
for 10
that was
years.
That was the 10 year from 2002 to 2011. That was the
And then you said it was backed up by a therapist or a psychologist.
Right. So I got two people. I got Dolan, who's Timothy freaking Dolan.
Exactly. And he's always
right. And by that time, within a month, he's running Milwaukee.
He was a friend of the
Yeah, right. So then it legitimizes his.
Right, Archbishop Dolan. He's like, he might be the first American Pope, and he could be from St. Louis, and that's a huge deal. And he's like my best friend. He told me he's my best friend.
Chris,
So what's ever happened to Father Valentine? You said he was laicized, or did
Well, if you're a conservative, this
he
is
still alive? Or
COVID got it.
Living on 10
COVID got it
$10
14 months ago in April. So unfortunately, there's no perp walks. But
And you know what? We've talked. My friends and I have talked about
this is frustrating. So he voluntarily resigned / was asked to resign in March of 2002. And the worst thing is, so this is under Regali, and they just cut him loose.
They said, they always say,
And I'm
that's just the Catholic Church.
not a fan of just cutting predators loose.
No, it happens all the time.
That's incredibly dangerous because for some number of years, my abuser, a multi-accused abuser who may have gotten 100 guys, maybe even just at Immaculata, is just living completely randomly, unsecured, unsupervised with his mom in some random place. At some point they pulled him back in. Father Mark and I were talking about this. Why'd they pull him back in? Did something happen that made them realize that this guy's a threat? So they pulled him back in and have him living at the retirement home for priests. But that's a retirement home. That's not a prison. He's not secured. He's not supervised.
So when they cut him loose,
that's the
they
worst
really
thing
just
that they
didn't give him
face is,
a
well,
sign.
you're not a priest anymore.
No,
It wasn't the
correct.
The way they react to that is a good.
I don't know whether he was on the payroll, but he wasn't. He was never sent to the service of the Paraclete or anything for treatment or anything. He was just he was sent to live with his mom or something.
Yes, I figured.
I don't know about the financial situation. I know that Dolan has paid guys to get out.
Well, they're above it.
They did pull him back at some point. And one of the things for the traditionalist people, that policy, that cut and loose policy, started under Regali and was continued
the
under
representative
Burke.
up there, not AOC, another one.
So, and that's one of the reasons why my story is so threatening and why I am so threatening. I can implicate Cardinal Dolan, Cardinal Regali, Cardinal Burke, and also Cardinal O'Malley.
Dozens of
O'Malley's involved in my story. Yeah.
After January
I'm a
5th,
teacher, and
he
so
called
as a
the
teacher,
police
like when
department and
I
asked for
see, or
special
even
patrols
if you
to do
suspect abuse,
Right.
it's not your job to be a judgment.
And
You are
he
required by law to
Right.
report something.
Right.
Are you an advocate for any
Because
specific, like,
it's-
legal kind of
I'm
things
not
that
one of
happen within
them.
the church? Because, like, I don't, as a teacher, I don't understand, like, why you wouldn't report something. Because it's in my brain, like, if I don't
Especially
report
if you get to
this.
the bishop.
The bishop.
You know what I mean? Morally, I have to, but like,
Well,
I
I
feel like
wouldn't-
if there was like a legal backing behind it,
Because a
like,
parish priest, you don't have much
You have to go to law enforcement. You
Well,
cannot.
I mean, you have none, but.
If anyone tells you, trust me, I'll take care of it. That's a bad sign.
You want to
I mean,
bully
I've
people a
seen
little bit,
even
you can try,
not
and
sexual
then they
abuse, but
vote
I've
with
seen
their feet
even
and go
within
away.
the
So
school
it doesn't
system,
really
like I've
work.
reported something
Okay, I have to
that
ask
definitely needed to
questions
be
because I
reported, and I don't
wondered
think anything
about
was
it.
done of it. So I think, I mean, this
The Palm
exists
Sunday incident. is
other
like-
parts
Right,
of the
and
world
it's
as well.
not just the Catholics,
No,
it's
and
Southern
but
Baptists.
I'm like, that's why
Yeah, it was divine
I'm
mercy
reiterating,
Sunday.
don't trust.
No, you can't. You can't. You have to
don't
do.
think
If I could go back to that moment, I would go above.
Tawdry and
No.
mean
And you
person
don't
I
want that.
trusted.
You don't want
Yeah.
that on.
Obviously not.
You don't want that on your conscience. That's not a.
happened
That's
in
not
a
a fun
church.
thing to live with 10 or 20 years later.
Children are my whole world. So,
Right.
yeah.
Right. Yeah, I don't know enough about the legal
You
things.
need to read more church
But-
bulletin. There are bishops.
Don't trust the hierarchy.
Not
Go to
all
law
of them.
enforcement.
It's a
Don't take
surprising
don't take
number
no for an answer, even if they try to blow you up. Because that's one of the scary
I think
things.
he's looking for a red
I didn't
hat.
really get into the program.
Just to say, yeah.
From my understanding, the Archdiocese of St. Louis
There are
had a program to
church members that
manage,
half a
if not
dozen
protect
stories.
these
Not
guys.
quite as
I have
severe as
evidence of
Father
that on the website that I
But
found on the
not
website of my current parish,
as
where my
public
kids went to school, which is like 150 yards from me when I'm riding.
that the
That I
bishop
walk
just got
past
mad.
every day.
Bishop
I
didn't
found a
like something.
document
One of the guys wants to
that-
go to
I would say
he wanted to be more
Cruz
conservative.
at
Oh,
least
he wanted to
strongly
bring back
suggests that
adoration.
as of so
And
the narrative
there were
is
three
that,
things.
oh my gosh, we didn't know about these
Can't remember
guys
the other two, but-
because of the ontological
Good
change. We
Catholic
thought
guy.
this was impossible.
But the bishop,
Our
he knew
therapist
the
told
bishop
us
didn't
that it
agree
was
with it.
possible to heal those
And he went
guys.
ahead and
Maybe
did
that
it
was
anyway,
true in the
and
50s and the 60s.
no longer has a
By the
parish.
1970s, the Archdiocese of St. Louis at least
unfortunately, Barry's
had
not
in
the
place
only
a
one.
program to
No, I
manage
did. I
them.
mean, I
They
did
knew
meet
who
up
they
with some
were.
of those guys
They had
and I did joke with them a little
slots
bit, like,
in certain
don't talk to me until you
parishes
get locked out of your house.
that they could run them through. There were certain parishes. I happened to be in one of the parishes that was one of these special parishes.
Designated like a safe place to put a problem.
Right. Now, I originally thought, okay, maybe they're like trying to treat him. Maybe Monsignor Flavin, my pastor, is good at counseling them. But I've since come to wonder if that actually meant this is a municipality that has a friendly mayor, police department, chief of police. This is a safe place for someone to get in trouble because instead of calling the DA, they'll call us. I don't know that for a fact, but I've got documents that strongly suggest that.
Chris, could you tell the story about the sacristy or the priest side of that? Because I think that'll let people understand the memory issue. And
So after the I assume this is after the special training incident with the host
Because he sent a
and
whole dossier to Rome that I haven't.
the touching by distracting me with the host,
You don't get that.
distracting me with the real present stuff.
I hope I do.
At some point after that, I'm serving
To
with
Rome,
TB
found somebody who
and
translated my letter
DM,
into Italian and said, I don't
and I'm
know.
noticing.
Could I
So it's the three of us getting
I
ready for
did find
church.
a can of water down.
And I'm noticing how easily it is for them to go into the priest side of the sacristy.
They just blew
And I'm standing there at the door.
So
And the spot where the special training stuff happened is right here. And I can't cross the threshold of the door. But TB and DM are just like all over here, in and out, you know, hitting candles and doing the whole thing. And I can't cross the threshold of the door, I suspect, in retrospect, because I would have had to walk right by that spot.
And
But it was weird enough for me that the moment registered,
amazed at the face of the people there.
and this is just crazy and
But I
absurd.
just found that they were responding.
So I've got to light the candles with like the little extended lighter that you use for the candles in the cups kind of thing. And it's only like 15 feet in front of me.
I see
And
it more.
TB is there and DM is there. And eventually I'm like, screw it. And I walk all the way around out of the stage left door, across in front of the tabernacle, kneel, genuflect, come all the way around. So instead of walking 15 to 20 feet, I walk 150 feet because I'm just unable to enter this space. I assume to cross this spot where the special training stuff happened. I don't know all the details for sure, but I know that incident happened and I remember it because it was so weird. Because why can they do this and I can't do the same thing that they're doing? What in the world is going on?
Thank you. And I'm so sorry for what's happened to you.
I don't know what happened to TB.
I will.
DM and I have had conversations. He had a mud cave kind of thing, a special training kind of thing where Valentine took him out to get him breakfast, you know, after the old people's mass.
And so, were your siblings?
As far as I know, they were fine. Nothing
They
happened.
don't talk about it either.
Were they
Like your
altar
dad?
servers?
They didn't serve to the same degree that I did. Well, and this is one of the frustrating things. So there were people who knew, and there were rumors about Valentine. And what would happen is the older siblings would tell the younger siblings, and both of these guys were like the youngest or the next to youngest of large families who had older brothers who served. And from what I understand, the word got around that Valentine was weird. And they warned their younger siblings. I'm the oldest of three. Nobody told me.
Yeah.
They would keep the information within the families. They would tell their families and they would tell their siblings, but the information would not cross families.
How is there going to be change without more Catholic parishioners speaking out? St. Louis is a big archdiocese.
And St. Louis has got, I mean, St. Louis could be worse than Boston and nothing's happening.
Right.
Nothing is happening.
You send letters, you've gone as, I mean, it's like you're just talking to a brick wall, nothing will ever.
Well, and all I can do is I'm going to start documenting this stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I mean,
I'm gonna walk into the Regali Center, which is the, you know, where the offices of the Archdiocese of St. Louis. I'm going to print out a copy of Article 5 of Vos Estis Lux Mundi and say, I'm Chris O'Leary, I'm a survivor, and I'm asserting my rights under Article 5 of Vos Estis Lux Mundi. I got one more year to do that because it's a 3-year term. But so,
Wait, what's a 3?
no, you're right.
Vos Estis.
Which
The
is to say
survivor's
everything
Bill
we
of
just
Rights.
said in the Survivor Bill of Rights.
It expires in 11 months.
Well, they're hoping that he renews
They're
it,
hoping.
but it
And he's not
does.
enforcing it.
Yeah, but it does go away according
Right.
to the.
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought it was a permanent.
So did I.
Well, there's a whole bunch of people that are hoping it will be. I don't know why it wouldn't be. And if everything's cleared up, then you don't need it. But obviously,
renews
that's
it,
not the
Francis?
case.
Yeah, the Pope would have to do it.
Yeah.
But isn't it suspicious that it expires
Right.
at all? Why?
It's certainly not good.
Good question.
Yep.
So I've got 11 months to get the nerve up to make this claim under Vos Estis. And, you know, I'm like, all right, Jesus, I need you.
Yeah, you can do it.
I can do it.
Is that the priest there in the middle? Or to the
Yeah,
left?
this
That's
is him. This is the Mud Cave trip. I actually did an interview with this guy. This guy has a kind of a web show, so if you go to chrisoleary.com/sins, I've got an interview with him telling his story, the story of kind of the groping in the basement of the rectory. This guy's a devout Catholic and won't talk. I've kind of told his story. He told me I can tell him his story. I can tell his story, but he doesn't want to talk about it.
And he's the one that threw him across
Right,
the
right. Yeah, he.
I mean, he's taller than him here.
Right, exactly. And he was a big dude.
You said he's a devout Catholic now? He's still Catholic?
Yeah. So he's kind of maintaining arm's length and doesn't want to get too involved, but I have had conversations with him and he told me his story. So it's a difficult position.
Well, it's difficult because survivor come forward, they just feel like they're
Right.
just kind of going to be ignored. And
Yeah, I mean, you should see my whole friend group, and a lot of these are girls who were at Immaculata, and they know all these guys. I can't tell them all the names. That, do you know about this guy? You know how he's an alcoholic? You know how this guy's dead? I know 5 guys who are dead. Yeah.
So did you confront? What's his name?
Valentine? No. No.
Is it Valentine?
Valentine. Valentine, like Valentine's Day. No, he died before I could get to that point.
Yeah.
He died in April of 20. And all I just wanted him purple. Because I've gone to the FBI. I went to the like I said, there was a federal crime discussed in the New York Times article in March 2002. He took a kid up to Pierre Marquette Park, crossing over from St. Louis into Illinois, and they played some game where, you know, how creepy would this be as a mom? You've got a priest chasing your guy around Pierre Marquette Park, pantsing out.
Oh.
That's not creepy. And so I've gone to the FBI and have told them my own story. I don't have Mann Act stuff against him, but, you know, and I did point them to that article. I said, you know, just so you know, there's no statute of limitations on federal crimes.
Yeah.
I learned about the Mann Act stuff because of Virginia Giuffre, who was abused by Jeffrey Epstein.
Can you say that again?
Yeah, Mann Act.
Mann Act, M-A-N-N. Yeah, the
the
Mann
last name,
Act.
M-A-N-N.
It basically said it makes it a federal crime to transport minors across state lines for any criminal purpose.
Child trafficking.
Yeah,
It's
it's-
the
right.
part of the
When was
child
it-
trafficking.
When did it become a law?
It's been around for forever.
Yeah.
100 years or something. It's been updated, but it's still,
It's been on the books long before this happened to you.
some of it was used for, you know, like against black people and that kind of stuff. It was originally a pile-on crime, but they've since reformed it into something that is useful for against sex traffickers in particular. It's frustrating, but you know, all I can do is keep talking about it. I'm largely unafraid. I'm almost completely unafraid. I am shaky
I
for
was
some
going to say,
reason.
I heard you say it doesn't get any.
Now,
Chris, if you walked into a parish in St. Louis or in the St. Louis community right now, how many people would really know who
Like a
you
certain
are?
culture. Like,
nobody. And I'm actually being shunned by my current parish. And worse, the Archdiocese of St. Louis is running a smear campaign against me.
I think what is that? What is that? I went from a link to a link to a link, and I think I got to a smear, but this was like at 12:30.
Well, so,
I was trying to
Is
turn
this
the light
is
on.
it Rosinski now?
Yeah, Brzezinski.
Rosinski.
Who's useless and might be worse than useless. So I went public in an article written by a Muslim woman. So I'm down with righteousness. I don't care who you are. If you're down with righteousness, you're down with me. In that piece, the Archdiocese put in a quote that said, "O'Leary's story changed multiple times."
Without,
I remember reading.
Right.
Okay, that sounds.
Which is BS. The only thing that changed about my story is that from 2002 when I talked to Dolan to 2011 when I talked to the review team, is I remembered one more memory thanks to talking to TB about the wrestling stuff.
And that's the change.
But that's textbook stuff that it would change as your.
I mean, duh.
Right.
I got 10 years, I'm going to remember some stuff.
confronted, said Peter to his face.
But O'Leary's story changed, well, multiple times.
Who's smearing? I don't understand.
This is that's the spokesman for the Archdiocese of St. Louis.
Oh, that's their line.
Quoted in this piece in which I went public.
Okay.
So nobody in St. Louis will talk to me. And then there's the art, and I haven't gotten into all this stuff. I changed things around a little bit. We'll combine the 2 tapes and get the whole thing, and people can watch it.
This is the message.
They've accused me of making terroristic threats against them. When I was about to go public, I got nervous, which is a pretty common thing. It's kind of scary. There's Jesus, you know, that's the Jesus Christ thing. I did make some tweets expressing I was warned that certain people might come after me. try to take things into their own hands. And I know of people who've been kind of stalked and harassed. So I made some tweets expressing my willingness and ability to defend myself within the bounds of my own house. Made a tweet about rock salt, which I thought would make it clear, I'm not trying to kill anybody, but if you come after me, I'm not afraid to fill your chest with rock salt. But everyone knows that if you want to kill someone, you don't do it with rock salt. But they reported that to the police, so I ended up spending, in early March 2018, I spent an hour and a half with 2 Shrewsbury detectives grilling me, going through tweet by tweet, saying, and I didn't actually know what the accusation was, I just had 2 detectives in my living room really agitated. I ended up filing a police report in January 19 or January 20. So as I'm walking out the building, the cop's walking out the building. These guys are nice. He's like, I hate to ask, but I gotta ask. Why does the Shrewsbury file say terroristic threats?
The silver lining is that there's another guy.
So I'm like, oh, I didn't actually know what they labeled it. But now that explains why the Shrewsbury guys were so agitated.
Whose word was terrorist?
That was the word of the people of the Archdiocese of St. Louis, who turned a rock salt tweet into terroristic threats.
You referred briefly to St. Louis University High School?
That's my high school.
So then the Jesuits then were...
So this is the locker room, which was unsupervised. The coaches spent their time in the coaches' room. And certain Jesuits would walk through, would spend time, would dwell in the locker room. Some like the older boys, some like the younger boys. I only took 1 shower at St. Louis U High, like the first week, under penalty of jug and demerit and detention and all that kind of stuff. Because I took 1 shower and I felt this guy's eyes on me, tearing me apart. Women know what this is like. Guys do this to women. Generally doesn't happen to men. But so I'm sitting there taking a shower naked, and this is just an open room. 4 shower heads. You're in there. At the end of across from the showers, there's a mirror and a bench, and there's a Jesuit sitting on that bench, watching me. And because of my history, that kind of ruined me for all of high school, understandably. And what's weird about it, and to your point about memory, to the kind of the weird memory stuff, I didn't actually understand that and how bad that was until like a year ago. Because I was having conversations with this one survivor, the one guy who can't come forward, who could corroborate me on Dolan, but he just can't. This is the guy who told his mom, who's an alcoholic as a result. He told me his story, and he's like, I was academically devastated in grade school after that happened. I ended up having to skip a grade. And I'm like, God, I'm glad that never happened to me, that I never got academically devastated by anything. I failed typing freshman year of high school and had like a 1.7 or something because I was so agitated I couldn't leave my room and I couldn't do my homework and I couldn't do anything. I was one of the smartest guys in my class and was academically devastated because of what may have only been 1 day in the locker room at St. Louis U High. But that was enough, I guess, because of my, some of my classmates have joked about it. This is a problem that affected hundreds of guys. It may not have affected them as much. Some of these guys were older, but for whatever reason, it completely set me off and kind of ruined me.
What was the dress of the person that was in the locker room? What did the Jesuits wear at that time? Did they wear normal clothes, or were they?
This would have been street clothes, because I remember this guy was Father so-and-so, but I remember him calling him Mr. so-and-so, and I think it was because he was wearing
street clothes.
And I didn't understand the difference between father and Mr. and brother and all that.
I think when you say Jesuit, you're usually talking about an ordained individual, aren't
He
you?
wasn't ordained.
No,
He was-
that's
he
not
was-
true.
Not at the school. I'm
Well-
a de Smet grad.
Okay.
So I understand where he's at.
Dustmet is what we call it. SLU 2.
That's the name of the high school? Is that what you're saying, guys?
It's St. Louis U High. Is
Okay, all right.
And
He's my
mine-
rival.
I'm the other. I graduated from the other Jesuit high school in St. Louis.
The
Got it.
inferior Jesuit high school.
Got it. So when you say Jesuit, does that mean anybody who's working in the school?
Well,
Or-
no, it's run by the Jesuits, but it's
Okay.
generally staffed by lay people.
I got you. But this person was wearing street clothes. It wasn't like
He was a
someone in a
priest.
cassock that was
He was a
sitting
priest,
in the
but
locker
he was
room.
in street clothes.
Gotcha.
Which
Okay.
I think, because this is like the first week of freshman year and I didn't understand the whole Jesuit thing, I thought he was a mister when he was really a father in street clothes.
Got it. But it was just weird that he'd be sitting in the locker room watching the boys
Yeah,
take
just
showers.
watching, just eyeing guys.
Got it.
So, any other questions?
Do you ever get like you mentioned there were some nuns or something who came and showed you support or something?
Yeah.
Do you ever get, what I don't understand in all this is why aren't there, okay, I know one priest, are
Thanks
there
for
other
coming.
priests who would even come up to you and say, look dude, I don't expect you to respect me, but I'm a coward and I don't want to come forward and support you or I'll lose my job. But just can you, just between me and you,
I did have
really support them.
I had one priest from the Archdiocese of Military Service who broke ranks. And thank you. Good to see you. Nice to meet you. Thank you for the questions. I had one priest at the 2019 ordination who came up to me, and he actually was really kind of bold about it. He was out in the open. He stood there with me, and he chatted with me for 5 minutes or so, kind of subtly, just kind of throwing the bird around. But the difference is this is a priest for the Archdiocese of Military Service, not subject to my bishop. There is another guy in the Archdiocese of St. Louis. Well, so I know the family, I know his dad. I suspect that his dad was abused. He just fits the profile. Very smart, underachiever, holding lots of weird jobs.
But even like,
control freak.
But even like anonymously, you don't get anything like that?
Well, I had one older priest who would always, as he was walking in, he would always give me a wave. Nice guy. I think he was replaced by an Archdiocese of St. Louis loyalist who since blocked me on Twitter.
I just haven't yet.
I sent this loyalist, he's the director of vocation for the Archdiocese of St. Louis. I sent him one tweet saying, hey, your parish, the parish you're inheriting, St. Mary Magdalene, is very survivor friendly. Could you please continue the tradition of being survivor friendly? And he blocked me for that. It's very depressing because I think they are under orders not to even engage with me. I do have one younger priest, and I hope I don't get him in too much trouble, where, like at the ordination mass this year, when I was just completely shunned by everybody. Everybody showed me their butts. This one priest did come by, and he stood next to me, and he's like, "Hey, how are you doing? We're gonna talk at some point." He's a young guy. He's actually bishop grade. It wouldn't surprise me if he's on the bishop track, although talking to me may get him off the bishop track. But he is, to a degree, he's like, I don't care about the bishop stuff. I just want to be a priest. So, but it's frustrating. Nobody has any guts.
Now you're saying that you tonight, I don't think you maybe mentioned, but I think on your website I saw you're saying that you're almost in a worse than anybody else because of the ability to finger Dolan at that.
That's my
parish.
understanding. Well, and because
Right.
right. That's my sense of what's going on.
Right.
Is I'm seen as a threat to Dolan, and it's not just Dolan. It's Regali, it's Burke, and now it's O'Malley.
Right. In other words, all abuse survivors get treated badly, but they almost have a special.
Right. There's a special place in hell for guys who can implicate cardinals. Because cardinals are better than everybody else. And the only thing I can think is that the proximity to the papacy makes it unthinkable or untenable. We can't have Satan this close to the papacy.
We already had it with McCarrick, who was the spokesperson after the Dallas charter.
Right.
He was the person that was selling it to the world.
That's actually a good point.
Right.
That's
they've already had one cardinal, implicated. They can't afford any others.
Right. Well, right, and that's
why you're so volatile.
Right.
You're like kryptonite.
Right. It's no fun, but if Jesus Christ can do it, I can do it. And that's why you guys are awesome. I appreciate it. It's incredibly lonely. It's depressing, you know.
Well, you got a few new
I
friends.
didn't know your story before. I found out about it through Father Mark, and I just can't believe that I did. I just feel like we all have let you down. And
No, you're here now, which is what matters.
Well, you're doing exactly the right thing, because like you said, it just has to be open stuff, no secrets, no, like you say, enabling. You know, it just people should want to talk about it. They should want criticism, and we're losing that in our culture, really. This whole, you know, like everything be open.
Well, but you're here, and there are other people here, and you know, you guys are doing the right thing, and hopefully, eventually, it will bleed back to St. Louis and make some change in St. Louis. Although I'm not holding my breath.
Well, but you also have to feel that your message is going to go back to individual parishes.
Right.
And people are going to be much more watchful,
right?
And there hopefully will be less children hurt like you were,
right?
You know, that's got to be what you're holding on to at this point. It's not going to. The whole thing's not going to be fixed tomorrow. It's just not going to happen with the hierarchy.
Start with the personal accountability and people taking responsibility for their kids and their kids' kids and their neighbors, and some of that's just getting back to the 50s. You know, the 50s, the stuff of the 50s. Everybody's watching out for everybody else.
Right.
And that's a good thing. That's progress. So.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.